All right, so concerning his childhood and his origins, he was from Proctorsville, Vermont, which is a 40-minute drive, as you'll see on the screen. It's southeast of Proctor, Vermont. It's a different town. They get mixed up a lot. It's called Proctorsville. And I want to share something really interesting I found from the Cavendish Historical Society News.blogspot.com. So, in 1782, Captain Leonard Proctor, a Revolutionary War veteran, moved his family to Vermont. With his two sons, Jacobez and John, he built a shunpike to the village of Gassetts in nearby Chester to avoid paying the tolls of the Green Mountain Turnpike. Sam and Dutton, who came to Cavendish around the same time, had helped to build the Green Mountain Turnpike, which ran from Bellows Falls to Rutland, bringing Boston coaches north up the Duttonsville Gulf to the village and then west along Route 31 through Proctorsville. The shunpike being toll-free resulted in northbound traffic from Boston coming directly to Proctorsville and bypassing Duttonsville. Because of the road, the Dutton and Proctor families, as well as the villages of Duttonsville and Proctorsville, feuded for 75 years. So they had a 75-year feud between the Duttons and the Proctors over this road, I guess. Being toll free resulted coming directly to Proctor because of the road, some like control of it or like profits or something. So Redfield Proctor married Emily Dutton in 1858. So he came from this family who founded the town of Proctorsville, and in 1858, he married Emily Dutton, who was the rival family, daughter of his dad's rival's family. So it's really interesting because this is kind of like, back in the day when like royals would marry their families together, even if they had beef or potentially would have beef, so that they could solidify their power together. And Fletcher Dutton Proctor, who was the son of Redfield Proctor, you'll see like the Fletcher Fund and a lot of this stuff is named after him. If the old names in blood had the old inclination left to stir up strife, it would have created a fearful internal commotion. In fact, the merger of these families, that was end quote. In fact, the merger of these families proved to be a propitious event for Vermont, since 3 governors and United States senator came from the Dutton-Proctor line. So, yeah, so he was from Proctorsville. So then his dad died at age 8. He was raised by his mother. He eventually went to Dartmouth College. After graduating from Dartmouth College in 1851, Proctor returned to Proctorsville, where he became first a businessman and later a lawyer. He earned his master's degree from Dartmouth College and graduated from Albany Law School in 1859. He married Emily Jane Dutton and moved to Boston 2 years later. They had 5 children: Proctor Holden, Fletcher Dutton, Fanny Proctor, Redfield Jr., and Emily Dutton Proctor. He was initiated into the Delta Obsidian fraternity as an honorary member by Middlebury College chapter. So next, what he did was he went and he fought in the Civil War. So upon the outbreak of the Civil War, Proctor returned to Vermont and enlisted. He was in the Vermont 3rd Infantry, and he was commissioned and repaired and blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, he was in the Civil War for a while. I don't know how much battle he actually saw, but he was present at the Battle of Gettysburg, which is an extremely famous Civil War battle. The Battle of Gettysburg was huge, and he was there for that. So after that, Proctor initially returned to practicing law, this time in Rutland, Vermont. So now he's in Rutland, okay, and he's practicing law for a while, right? He's doing that, but more and more he gets involved in 1880 with the Sutherland Falls Marble Company. And so then he kind of takes over that. And at that point, he founded the town of Proctor because he had so much power and so much. At first, this is a really amazing part of the story. Like, the Vermont Marble Company was actually extremely not doing well. It was struggling and suffering, right? And Redfield Proctor turned that whole operation around and turned it into such a profitable operation. I want to read you an excerpt now from the Vermont website, the Vermont Marble Company website, because it's actually really, really amazing. So the Vermont Marble Company virtually built the town of Proctor. This is a quote. At its peak, the company employed several thousand people in the Proctor area. Early in the century, it was considered the largest United States corporation in the world. This is what's crazy. We're looking at a guy who founded our hometown. He's buried across from the freaking St. Dominic's Catholic Church in Proctor, Vermont, in the cemetery in Proctor, Vermont. This is the town I grew up in, that we've spent so much of our lives, right? He was the head of a corporation, which was the biggest corporation in the United States corporation in the world at the time. Like, that's kind of weird to think about. Like, the biggest in the world. Like, they went from like $100,000 profit to $3 million profit in 20 years. And that's pretty amazing because back then $3 million was like $300 million today. So locally, headstones were being made from outcrop marble as early as 1785. The first commercial quarry was opened in Dorset, the first quarry in Vermont, believed to be the first in North America. The Sutherland Falls Quarry opened in 1836 and went through several owners. So the Sutherland Falls is like the falls that are in Proctor, Vermont. It's a waterfall, and it's right in the center of town, right by the Marble Bridge and the Proctor Library, which was also an installation of Redfield Proctor. He entered the arena as a receiver for the failed Sutherland Falls Marble Company. It was a failed company at this point. When he learned about the area's combination of water power, sand supply, promising quarry, and established equipment and a railroad in 1851, the railroad made the biggest difference. He decided to bring the various smuggling or defunct works into one ownership and build an effective business. Vermont Marble Company officially came into being in 1880. In the course of its life, Vermont Marble Company acquired rights to all of the marble deposits in Vermont. That is insane. Colorado and Alaska, to become a giant of the industry for a century. Even as early as 1885, the volume produced was incredible. Some of the most notable structures were United States Supreme Court building and Jefferson Memorial, all made out of Proctor marble, and also the tomb of Chiang Kai-shek, might I mention. So employees of the Vermont Marble Company came from all over the world. Vermont marble carvers from the Carrara, Italy, and quarries from Ireland. The largest influx of immigrant workers came through Ellis Island at the turn of the century. The immigrants from Poland, Sweden, Ireland, Italy, and many Eastern European countries lent their skills to making the products of Vermont Marble Company world-renowned. These immigrants settled in Proctor and surrounding areas, making Rutland County rich in cultural diversity. So that's pretty amazing. So he was the head of this company for many years after that, and you'll see if you go to Proctor, Vermont, like everything in our town is made out of marble. The sidewalks are paved in marble. The school is made out of marble. St. Dominic's Church is made out of marble. And so when Redfield gets into his political career, he's referred to as the Tombstone Senator. So the reasoning behind this Tombstone Senator nickname is because he was a Secretary of War. So when he served in Vermont as a governor, and he was running things in Vermont as a governor, and then eventually the sitting president, Benjamin Harris, was like, why don't you come be the Secretary of War? So he did that, and then at the time, there was this little thing called the Spanish-American War, and it hadn't started yet, though, right? And it was brewing. So there was this kind of anti-war sentiment in America, and kind of like this clash of philosophies. How much do we want to be an expansionist nation, right? How much do we want to be an imperialist nation? So what's really amazing is our guy here, founder of Proctor Vermont, who's buried in Proctor, Vermont, and the town is made and named after him. He had a crucial point to play in United States history because check this out. I never knew this. March 17th, 1898, PBS.org. Senator Proctor exposes Spain's brutality in Cuba. On March 17th, 1898, Vermont Senator Redfield Proctor delivered one of the most significant speeches of the Spanish-American War era. After an observation visit to Cuba, Senator Proctor returned to the United States and told Congress about Cuba's bleak situation. I went to Cuba with a strong conviction that the picture had been overdrawn. I could not believe that, this is a quote, out of the population of 1,600,000, 200,000 had died within these Spanish forts. My inquiries were entirely outside of sensational sources. What I saw, I cannot tell so the others can see it. It must be seen with one's own eyes to be realized. To me, the strongest appeal is not the barbacity practiced by Whaler, nor the loss of the Maine, which was a ship that the Spanish sunk, but the spectacle of 1.5 million people, the entire native population of Cuba, struggling for freedom and deliverance from the worst misgovernment of which I had ever had knowledge. Senator Proctor's words, end quote, unlike those of the sensationalist press, were taken seriously by the congressional Republicans and the United States business community. Proctor, a former Civil War colonel, Vermont governor, and businessman, I'll say that, he was rich, was highly respected and trusted by United States conservatives. When Senator Proctor spoke, the pro-war feeling among the United States business community grew. So after that, it wasn't long until after his influential speech that United States entered the war, the Spanish-American War. So really interesting because you're looking at the overlap right here of world history and our local history and how local people from Proctorsville and then Proctor, Vermont became at the very top of the political stratosphere, making speeches, being part of congressional committees, doing things that are extremely important, and also made a shit ton of money as the owner of the Vermont Marble Company, which was the largest U.S. corporation in the world at the time, which is insane, absolutely insane to think about. So we entered the Spanish-American War, right? And I just want to take a look at a little biography here. So I'm looking at another source now. It says Governor Proctor makes 6,000 gift to Dartmouth. At the time, that was closer to 100,000. You got to remember, this is 1923. They called him the Tombstone Senator because all of these tombstones were made out of Proctor marble, right? So, I mean, not all of them, but, a lot of tombstones were made out of Proctor marble. So when he was suggesting that we go to war with Spain, which ended up meaning that the United States, by the way, gained control of Cuba. So once the United States gains control of Cuba, they had this whole kind of influence there, which was very, very, just had a lot of influence there. Our capitalist ways, anyways, that basically led to the Cuban Revolution is the point I'm getting to, because that was what Castro was saying, and the meaning of the movement behind Castro was that there was way too much influence economically and imperialistically from the United States on Cuba, and that we don't even want to be a capitalist nation in general. We want to go communism. We want to have everybody be taken care of, and that whole story, the differences between communism and capitalism. But anyways, we also got Puerto Rico, Guam, and all that stuff. So a major factor in us starting that war and getting Puerto Rico, getting Guam, getting Cuba was Redfield Proctor from Proctor, Vermont. That blew my fucking mind, honestly. So, so moving forward, I want to talk a little bit about his obituary. So Redfield, his obituary is in the New York Times, March 5th, 1908. Senator Proctor, a victim of grippe, dies after an illness at a week. Governor of Vermont and for many years head of the Senate Committee on Agriculture. Senator Redfield Proctor Vermont died at his apartment in the Champlain this afternoon at 4:30 o'clock. He had been ill almost a week following the attack of the grip, which had developed into some pneumonia affecting the heart. The senator's son, Governor Fletcher Proctor Vermont, the governor's wife, and several intimate friends were at the bedside. While definite funeral arrangements have not been announced, Senator Proctor's body probably will be sent tomorrow evening to Proctor, Vermont for interment. Vice President and Speaker of the House of Representatives will tomorrow appoint committees to accompany the body of Vermont. The news of Senators Proctor Vermont reached the Senate a few minutes after 5 o'clock. Senator Warren, chairman of the Committee on Military Affairs, was urging the passage of a bill to increase the pay of the Army, which is a measure that for many years had attracted the interest of the late Vermont senator. No announcement of the death was made to the Senate. The information was communicated to Vice President Fairbanks, who immediately advised Senator Warren. Mr. Warren asked that the pending bill be laid aside for the day. The Senate then adjourned. It was not desired to formally announce the death because it was, though, best to lay aside business for an entire day in respect to the senator's memory. That's pretty badass. They just stopped the Senate for a day because of his death. The official announcement will be made tomorrow by Senator Dillingham, Mr. Proctor, colleague from Vermont. So, Senator Redfield Proctor was born in Proctorsville, June 1st, 1831. He came from old Vermont stock. This is an article in the New York Times in 1901. His grandfather being the founder of the town in which he was born. That's money, bro. Your grandfather founded your town. He started it, and you started another one. It says, let's see here. And was a successful farmer, merchant, manufacturer. And Redfield Proctor was graduated from Dartmouth College. At the outbreak of the Civil War, he enlisted. We already went over that. He was the senator, was running for governor of Vermont. The political opponents criticized his war record, saying that he never took part in an active campaign and was never on the firing line himself. After the war, he returned to his native state and formed a law partnership in Rutland, Vermont. And developed a business beyond all expectations. His work in this field may be judged by the following figures. So check this out. In 1870, the value of Vermont's output of marble was $130,000. And in 1906, the figures reached more than $3 million. Okay, and we're talking 1906. Like $3 million is like damn near $1 billion. Like, it was a giant industry. He was like a mini robber baron. You can count Redfield Proctor with the likes of Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, Rothschild. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're talking like big Vanderbilt. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was the owner and captain of an industry. So to make Proctor Vermont after his name was easy for him. Like, this guy was a giant, you know? On the floor of the Senate, in the most exciting debates or in the arrangement of annoying details of business plans, Senator Proctor maintained an impenetrable calm. This at times exasperated the hotheads in the Senate, and on one occasion, while debating with one of his colleagues, his opponent dubbed him the Tombstone Senator. This name came to be a standing joke, and whenever Senator Proctor appeared at the War Department during the Spanish War, word was passed around that there had been another skirmish, and the senator of Vermont had come around to take orders for more tombstones. It was Senator Proctor's idea to found an American breed of coach horse, and so earnestly did he advocate the proposition to Secretary Wilson that an experimental farm was established. The Department of Agriculture now promises a distinctive American coach horse. All right, y'all, I'm pretty pooped out on this one, so I'm about to check out. But in the outro, I'll do a little bit of guitar work, and yeah, man, just go big or go home. Go hard, like Proctor the doctor, Proctor from Proctorsville, the proctologist, the mini robber baron, the gravestone senator. You know what I'm saying? Just, yeah, man. Inspiration everywhere you go, and there's dope avenues everywhere you look, and that's just is what it is. So hey, hit like, comment, subscribe. More to come soon. Thank you guys.